Hi there, sweet friend. I'm so glad you've joined me today. This story is for everyone, teens, grown-ups, or anyone who just wants to cozy up and hear something light, heartwarming, and gently funny. Today, we're going back to childhood, to those moments that were so embarrassing back then but somehow become the stories we laugh about most. Let's step into our story. It begins in a quiet village called Maplewell, nestled between hills that rolled like green waves and forests that whispered in the wind. Every house in Maplewell had a garden, some wild with sunflowers and wandering vines, others neat and square with painted fences and little gnome statues. In one of these homes, with red bricks and blue shutters, lived a girl named Elsie. She was 9 years old, with big round glasses, a gap between her front teeth, and the kind of imagination that made regular days feel like magical quests. Elsie lived with her mom, dad, and her grandmother, who everyone called Nana Rose. Nana Rose was a retired seamstress with a laugh like wind chimes and a closet full of the most peculiar hats. She believed every day was a chance to wear something marvelous, and her favorite saying was, "Life is too short to go unnoticed." One sunny spring morning, Elsie was invited to her school's annual nature parade, a cheerful event where children dressed up in nature-themed costumes and marched around the village green, while parents clapped and took far too many pictures. Elsie was determined to win the most creative costume ribbon. She spent hours drawing ideas in her sketchbook. A daisy dress? A tree trunk suit? Maybe a butterfly cape? But it was Nana Rose who had the final idea. "We're going to make you a hat," she said. But not just any hat, a feather crown worthy of a forest queen. For 3 full days they worked on it together. They used soft felt, green ribbon, and feathers in every shade: turquoise, gold, violet, and a glorious swoop of peacock tail that curled at the top like a question mark. It looked like something a fancy bird might wear to an opera. On the day of the parade, Elsie stepped into the schoolyard proudly wearing her feather crown. Her dress was simple. Her shoes were muddy from a morning rainstorm, but her hat gleamed in the sunlight like a rainbow had landed on her head. At first, everything went well. Parents pointed and smiled. Children whispered and giggled. A few even looked impressed. Elsie waved to her dad and Nana Rose, who were cheering by the fence with giant homemade signs. But then, the wind blew. A strong, playful gust came dancing through the trees and, before anyone could stop it, whooshed the feather crown straight off her head. It didn't just fall, it flew, high and wild and twirling, over the fence, through the crowd, and then right onto the head of Mrs. Plumbley, the school's most serious teacher, who had just taken a big sip of lemonade. She froze. The entire crowd gasped. And Elsie? She turned as red as a summer tomato. But then Mrs. Plumbley chuckled, a light, musical laugh. "Well," she said, pulling the hat off with great care, "I suppose I've been crowned Nature Queen." Everyone burst into laughter, including Elsie. The embarrassment turned into something else, something warm and funny. Later, as they walked home, Nana Rose squeezed her hand. "You may not have won the ribbon," she said, "but you absolutely stole the show." Elsie smiled, and deep inside, where childhood memories settle and stay, she knew that one day this would be a story worth telling. After the feather crown incident, Elsie became something of a local legend. The girl with the flying hat, some villagers called her, always with a smile. But Elsie didn't mind. In fact, it made her feel a bit magical, like a character in one of her fairy tale books. But of all the funny childhood stories Elsie would come to collect, the one about the soggy sandwich might be her favorite. It happened on a class field trip to Wrenwood Forest, a peaceful place full of tall, swaying trees, winding paths, and friendly little animals that rustled through the underbrush. The teachers handed out clipboards and asked the children to draw anything wonderful or woodlandy. Elsie adored forests. She walked quietly, sketching pine cones and fox tracks, stopping to whisper to mossy tree trunks. Her best friend Molly, who always carried a jar of glitter just in case, stayed close by, pointing out mushrooms that looked like tiny umbrellas. At lunchtime, the class gathered in a clearing with big stones for seats. The sun shone through the canopy, and someone had spread out a red checkered picnic cloth. Everyone opened their lunchboxes. Elsie's mum had packed her a sandwich, sliced strawberries, and a biscuit shaped like a bear. But when Elsie opened her container, her heart sank. The sandwich was wet, soggy from corner to corner, the bread soaked through and stuck to the cling film like old wallpaper. The culprit? A leaky bottle of orange juice that had spilled all over the inside of her lunch bag. Elsie stared at it. Her cheeks warmed. She didn't want to make a fuss. But how could she eat a juice sandwich in front of everyone? Just then, a curious squirrel hopped close. It sniffed the air, tilted its head, and looked directly at her sandwich. "Don't you dare," she whispered. Too late. The squirrel darted forward, grabbed the soggy triangle with both paws, and bolted into the woods. There was a beat of stunned silence, and then her entire class erupted in laughter. "Did you just? That squirrel stole your lunch. Guess he was thirsty." Even the teachers laughed, and Molly practically fell off her rock, clutching her glitter jar like it was her heart. Elsie sat there, torn between horror and giggles, and slowly, she began to laugh too. A big, belly-shaking laugh that made her eyes water and her nose scrunch. Later, the teachers gave her an extra sandwich, and Molly traded her a glitter pen for half a biscuit. "Huh, that squirrel's a hero," she declared. "He saved you from the great juice disaster." That night, Elsie told the story to her family over dinner. Her dad nearly choked on his peas, and Nana Rose laughed so hard she cried. "I'll sew you a squirrel patch for your backpack," Nana said. "You've earned it." And she did. The next morning, Elsie went to school with a tiny stitched squirrel on her bag and a new story to carry in her heart. Embarrassing? Maybe. But funny? Absolutely. Because sometimes the best stories are the ones that begin with a mess. This story takes place on the day of Elsie's 10th birthday. The house was full of decoration streamers in every pastel color, paper daisies taped to the walls, and a big hand-painted sign that read, "Happy 10th, our little sunshine." Nana Rose had baked a honey cake shaped like a sunflower, and Elsie's dad had blown up exactly 20 bright balloons to float above the garden party. It was the kind of day where the breeze felt warm and friendly, and even the clouds looked like they had dressed up for the occasion. The whole class came Hazel in her sparkly dress, Charlie with his ukulele, and of course Molly, who had tied ribbons to her shoes and brought a backpack full of glitter, as always. There were outdoor games, sandwiches cut into stars, and cups of lemonade with tiny floating raspberries. But the best part of all was the balloon race. The idea was simple. Every child would choose one balloon, attach a little tag with their name, and release it into the sky. Then they'd wait and see whose balloon went the furthest. Whoever got a postcard back first from someone who found it would win a prize. Elsie picked a pink balloon with a silver ribbon. She wrote her name, age, and address on the tag in her very best handwriting and added a smiley face at the end. She held the string gently, watching it bob in the soft afternoon air. 1, 2, 3, the children shouted. Up went the balloons, swirling and drifting into the sky like bubbles made of color. Everyone cheered, but Elsie's balloon didn't go. Instead, it bounced upward, caught on the branch of the apple tree, and popped, a loud, sharp bang that sent birds flying and left Elsie holding a sad curly string in her hand. She stood frozen in disbelief. There was a pause then, a ripple of giggles. "Oh, no," someone whispered. Elsie's face turned bright red. She turned around, unsure whether to laugh or cry. "That was my favorite one," she mumbled. Before she could run and hide, Molly came running over with a green balloon. "Take mine," she said without hesitation. "I've got another at home." Then Charlie offered his too, and soon all the children were holding out their balloons, offering them up like peace treaties. June from the bakery, who had come with a tray of jam, tartstied a new balloon to Elsie's string and kissed her on the forehead. "Every birthday needs a surprise," she said with a wink. So Elsie let her second balloon go, and this time it rose high and clear into the blue sky, soaring like it was proud to be hers. A week later, a postcard arrived from a farm 3 towns over. It read, "Dear Elsie, We found your balloon near our duck pond. We hope you had a wonderful birthday. Our goat, Pickle, says hello. Love, Marjorie, and the ducklings. Elsie pinned the postcard on her bedroom wall, right next to a drawing of the squirrel who had once stolen her sandwich. And that, dear friend, brings us to the end of our cozy little story. 3 embarrassing childhood memories, each one, a little awkward, a little silly, and completely wonderful in its own way. Because sometimes, the moments that make us blush when we're small become the stories that make us smile when we're grown. If this tale warmed your heart or made you chuckle, I'd love for you to like, subscribe, and come back again soon. There are so many more beautiful, peaceful stories waiting to be shared. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, laugh when you can, and always treasure the child you once were.